Hi, my name is Matt Winsper from Winspers Martial Arts Centre. This is going to be a tutorial on functional pad work for the Warrior Collective. Working with me today are going to be my two assistants, my brother James Winsper and also Winspers Martial Arts Centre's head coach Connor Porter. We're going to be looking at how to utilise our focus pads, which in combat terms have only really been around for the last 30 years or so. They were first brought into use by Emmanuel Stuart of the Kronk Gym in Detroit, America, and since then they seem to have permeated most elements of combat sports. Yet there are many misconceptions about them, many fallacies in the training with them. So we're just going to try and look at the whole genre and give you some points and some tips which hopefully you can utilise in your own training. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably already have a good idea of the basics of pad work, and we're probably able to move around and hold the pads correctly with your training partners throwing some power shots and perhaps some power kicks. We're going to try and add to that. So let's take a look at the basics first. James Winsper is just going to move around with me. We probably understand the basics, that when we're holding the pads, we want to keep them fairly square and we want to move the pads into the techniques. And we're probably able to throw power shots in 1s and 2s and 3s, okay? So perhaps looking something a little like this. And perhaps mixing in some kicks. And obviously we can start to bring in our uppercuts and our hooks. This way. What we're going to try and do is recreate sparring, because really that's the true essence of pad work. It has to recreate sparring. So what we're going to start to do is add in some movement, some defence and some combinations. We're going to start with the combinations because one of the main assets of pad work is that with combinations you have set targets, whereas with sparring everything's open, you can have set targets with the pad work. So we're going to look at 3 basic combinations we utilise. We do have a full range which goes up to 8. We're just going to look at the first 3 and integrate them into our work. So the first one, combination number 1, is I'm going to hold up the right pad. James is going to throw a left jab. He's immediately going to pull himself off to his right to avoid my counter jab. As he does this, he puts his weight onto his right leg. He can push into the ground to throw a power right hand. But the best way to drill this is to stand nice and close and do it repetitively, over and over again. The reason why I'm using the right pad when he's throwing the left jab is so that my left hand is free to jab. This makes it realistic, like sparring, because if we were sparring and these were gloves instead of focus mitts, as James was throwing the jab, I'd be responding straight away with my jab. I can't do that if he's hitting the pad. So I'm going to use the right pad. Gradually we speed the combination up. And then we can start to do it a little bit more sporadically. And finally do it at full speed. I now have my first combination to put back into my pad work. So as we're moving around, throwing our regular shots, I can suddenly say number 1, the number of the combination. 1! Then we can go back to our regular work. 1! This gives us a real quick combination. We're now going to look at combinations number 2 and 3, and then I'll show you how they all work together. Number 2, we practice it in the same format. Will be a left hook to the body, a left hook to the head, a straight right, and another left hook. So let's put that together in the same way. We do it repetitively to drill the muscle memory. And then we can start to speed it up and again do it a little bit more sporadically. Number 2. And then finally we can go up to full speed with it, mix it in with our number 1 and our regular pad work. Number 2. 1. 2. And then finally we have combination number 3. So this time we have a right uppercut, a left hook, a straight right. Again, we do this repetitively. Gradually speed it up. And then we do a bit more sporadically, add it in with everything else. Number 3. Number 2. 2, 3. Now what I did there is I put 2 combinations together to make a longer one. And obviously as we go through this, we can do this to create long combinations to replicate letting the hands go against an opponent. So once more. 3. 2, 3. And we can advance like that. I'm going to allow James to take a rest. I'm going to bring Connor in. This is just to show you the full range of the combinations. We do have a full range of them, it goes up to about 8. And we start to move around. We start to work all the different ones. I'm moving around a little bit now so you can see the different angles. Number 3. 2, 3. 4. 2, 3, 4. 1. 2. 2, 3, 4. Like this. This allows us to start to move our hands in a way we can't really do unless we've pre-worked out some combinations. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at, in order to replicate sparring, I'm going to need to throw some moves back as well. So now we can start to look at defence. A good way to do this, as we're moving around, is to start off with counters. Every time I pop the pad up, Connor throws a shot, with my opposite hand, I'm going to tap him. This encourages him to initially put his hand back to take the shot on his gloves. So for instance, if I was to give him a left jab, I'll tap with the right. Vice versa, if I was to throw the right, I would use the left pad. This is a good speed drill, just to replicate sparring, because this is exactly what happens in sparring. When you throw a shot, you have to be prepared for one to come back. If you want to throw multiple shots, I then kind of to throw the shots and then just fire one straight back at it. Onto left hook, like this. When we add that back in with the combinations, we start to have something that looks a little bit more like sparring. So we've got our movement, doing our basic pad work. We can add in the combinations. 4. We can work the defence. 2. 3. 2, 3. And we're also moving around, looking a little bit more like sparring. Another thing we can do is look at ranges, because when we're sparring, we're not always at one range. And this is typically a big mistake that people make with their pad work, because they do everything at long range. Fast, flashy combos at arm's length. But when we're sparring, we often end up at this kind of range. And our pad work is to take that into consideration as well. So we're going to move right in close. This position, it's important. I'm not just stood there like a pad holder. I'm actually in stance. And straight away, to make sure Connor's in the correct frame of mind, I'm tapping him with the pads. So he's working his defence. I can then suddenly pop the pads up for a nice clear signal. And because we're at close quarters, and he's putting a lot of power into his shots, we want to use both pads. We can even drop the combinations we previously learned into close quarters. 3. 2. And also it's important from close range, we're looking at the counters we did earlier. Now one of the big mistakes people make, when they put everything into a body shot here, they let their opposite arm trail. And they wing like this. We can help rectify that by every now and then going from this to go to this and tapping them with the free pad just to check guards. So let's put all of that together and look at the different things we've got. We've got our basics. 2, 3. We've got our counters. 1. We've got our close quarters. 3. 1, 2, 3. 3, 4. And now we're starting to make our pad work look a lot more rounded and a lot more realistic, as opposed to just the basic 1s and 2s and a few kicks. I'm going to kind of take a rest now, and I'm going to bring in James, and we're just going to work on to bringing the kicks in to round the sequence off. Now the important thing with kicks is it brings in another range again. Typically with Western boxing, we've got punching range, we may work close quarters. For kickboxing, we've got that extra length of the legs to create another range. So for pad work for kickboxing, we're going to start at that range. And when I'm on the outside, I can do nice big single targets. When I'm ready, I can move into range and we can go to boxing. Now James instinctively knows what he's throwing, whether it's punches or kicks, from the range. Obviously if I'm here, he instinctively knows this is kicking range. If I was to move in, he instinctively knows this is punching range. If I wanted him to work out of range, it would require some communication. So I could get in close range and I could say kick, and he knows he's got to move to get the kick in. So let's work through the ranges a little bit. We start at long range. I'll give him some pushing kicks, like front kicks or side kicks. If I want him to punch, I can move into the range. I could even say, move to me. And he knows he's got to bridge the gap to get the shots off. Number 3, start to have the combos in. We can either add kicks into the combos. So I can say 3 with kicks. Like this. Now the actual specific combinations we're throwing are our invention. These could be recreated in any way. You can have any number of combinations for yourself to work. The importance is to have preset combinations, so you don't interrupt your own pad work by having to work stuff up, by having to say, let's do a jab, let's do a jab cross, let's do a jab cross hook, and a rank. We can say 2, 3, 4, and they're already set. So we're just going to finish by doing a quick demonstration of putting this all together, and hopefully to create a round of pad work that almost looks like sparring. Okay, so let's go. Number 1, 2, 3. Number 2. Legs. Number 2. Number 4. Back leg kick. The jab. 2, 3, 4. With the kick. Long right. This way. I hope you've enjoyed the sequence. Thanks for watching this video, this tutorial on functional pad work. For more information on myself, please visit us at www.winsperskickboxing.com or search for more videos on Warrior Collective. Thank you very much.